Today we're going to talk about the great NVIDIA GPU shortage conspiracy. The Elite XG270QG from ViewSonic breaks the traditional ugly appearance of gaming monitors by providing an ultra-clean design while still delivering gamers the features that they want most. Features like a 1 millisecond response time, IPS 165Hz overclock display, black brushed aluminum stand with tilt and swivel, mouse and keyboard cable anchors, and customizable subtle lighting. To learn more about the XG270GQ from ViewSonic and to see current pricing, click the link in the description below. All right, so we're gonna talk about a few things here, but first and foremost, these two graphics cards right here are up for grabs. I've got a giveaway happening, which is about to end actually very, very soon. So if you didn't know about it and you're like, I don't know about this, then check the description down below. There's a link to the video. We can learn all about it. We got another giveaway coming up after this one. We're doing lots of giveaways because I'm trying to give people the best opportunity they can to build their computers. And the next one's actually gonna be pretty awesome, where I'm gonna sponsor your entire build. So moving forward from that, we are going to talk about the conspiracies surrounding GPUs. These brands like NVIDIA and AMD, they hate you. They love miners and they hate you. That's what people want you to believe. But we're gonna talk about why that's actually kind of nonsense. We're gonna give you some more information on the industry updates because, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I know that the queue systems are just completely overwhelmed with people wanting to buy graphics cards. It's kind of funny that it's the same people in every queue. They're just signing up for every queue that they possibly can. So it's kind of like, what if you've got 1.5 million people in this queue? Yes, that's a real figure. There are 1.5 million people in one queue that I know of. So with that said, yeah, you can do the math on that and how long it can take to get a card based on one queue being at 1.5 million. And if you got 1.5 million people in all the queues because they're all the same people, yeah, if you've got, maybe 500 or 1,000 cards making it to market at a time, how long that can actually take to get your card. That's why you're hearing people say, I've been in the queue since September and I finally got my notification and then it went into the junk mail and you missed it and now you're mad. That's happened. Pay attention. So the first conspiracy theory was that NVIDIA sold $175 million worth of Ampere graphics cards directly to cryptocurrency miners, whether it be in China. I think China was the alleged, but I digress. I don't know where that actually took place. The most credible, and I say the word credible extremely loosely here, the most credible site that even reported on this was WCCF Tech. And that's because WCCF Tech is a tech tabloid. They just talk about whatever they want, whenever they want. There's no vetting, there's no fact checking. They just put whatever out there that they can to get people to click on their site so that their ads can get served and that's how they make money. It's not about truth, it's just about clicks. And then you find all these small sites that are only referencing WCCF Tech's article about that. Now, there's never been any concrete evidence. There's never been any actual gotcha article on there saying we caught them. It's just buzzwords like alleged and allegedly, which is the same word, right? About NVIDIA selling these cards to the miners. Now that was back in November when they reported on it, and they reported on the fact that that was what happened at the launch. So that was already months old versus the launch in October, well, a month old versus launch in October. And remember the announcement was in September. So the reason why I think that's complete bull stuff is because knowing what I know, or being privy to information that most of you, in fact, almost all of you don't have, is the fact that I don't believe NVIDIA even had $175 million worth of Ampere graphics cards at launch, because the shortage was already happening at the time that launch came around. The launch was scheduled, they went forward with it, obviously, but the shutdown and the COVID-19 pandemic issues with the shutdowns of TSMC, which again makes NVIDIA's graphics cards, had already happened. And that had already created a supply and demand issue that was starting. But obviously nobody knew how bad it was gonna be until you moved forward now 6 months later, seeing just how impossible things are to get. I don't believe that there ever were 175 million. I don't think they've still even made $175 million worth of graphics cards, wholesale pricing, whatever that may be. That's not a huge markup on graphics cards, but, well, I take that back. MSRP versus the actual wholesale pricing, there wasn't a huge markup. But that brings us to the next conspiracy, is that NVIDIA and AMD want there to be a shortage. It doesn't help that Lisa Su actually went on Mad Money the other day and explained that the shortage was a good thing. She actually called it a good thing. Because of the fact that that means that they have to ramp up production. It's a good thing because demand is high, but demand is high everywhere. It doesn't necessarily mean that GPU demand is high. It's just GPU demand looks high because the production is low, creating a supply shortage, which makes demand look extremely high. Now, yes, it is high, but that's a compounded issue happening from the entire industry as a whole. So let's back up here just a second. Let's digress again just a little bit here. The other conspiracy is that the companies want the price to go high. They would much rather have the price go high and sell less units and make more money than to worry about keeping price low and selling more units, making less money at the end, or the same amount of money for more work. Now, that's not really true. And the reason for that is the fact that the last thing any company like NVIDIA or AMD and any of their partners, which are almost the same companies, except for you have some that don't make AMD cards and some that don't make NVIDIA cards, like Sapphire doesn't make NVIDIA and EVGA doesn't make AMD. The last thing they want is to have orders coming in with nothing to sell. If you're a business owner, do you want an empty warehouse and every time one piece of product comes in, you sell it and go, okay, this is good business? No, that's awful business. And anyone that would possibly think that that's good business in any stretch of the imagination has clearly zero fibers in their body that understands business whatsoever. I don't believe it to be true that NVIDIA wants the price to go high. Now I can tell you what's happened here. NVIDIA is selling the chips to the AIBs in literally a trickling here and there, a sprinkling of GPUs to these AIBs. I don't know if the price has gone up behind the scenes. I don't know if because NVIDIA's supply is low and the demand is high from the AIBs, if there's been any sort of price hike, or if there's contracts in place that keep them from being able to raise the price. I don't know. Anything I could say about that would be 100% speculatory, and it would be indulging into the thing that I hate most is people spread information based on feelings rather than facts, and that's not something that I'm gonna talk about. But what I can tell you is that when it makes its way to the retail side, so that's a wholesale market. That's wholesale, that's about the back end before it even gets ready for retail. Once it's ready for retail, I can tell you right now that the AIBs, many of them have raised the prices, not just because of the tariffs that went somewhat into effect in 2021, but because supply and demand also. Now the AIBs have to make money on their cards, and I have no doubt whatsoever there has been an MSRP increase of the cards like the Gigabyte and the Amp and all that sort of stuff, the Amp Extreme. But then the retail stores have the final say in what the pricing is going to be. Now, prior to this video, I went to Micro Center just to see what was available at Tustin, because Tustin SoCal is our only store in California. There were 0 graphics cards available, period. Now, we're used to going in there and seeing like GT710s and GT1030s hanging out. Even those are gone. And the reason for that, I think, is because some people that are building systems that need, well, I'd like to at least be able to browse the web and maybe watch YouTube or something while I'm waiting to be able to game. If you have a GPU or a CPU, like AMD Ryzen CPUs that are not APUs, you can't even fire up the system. At least the positive side to Intel is they almost all necessarily on Extreme platform have an iGPU in there, so you can at least turn it on and watch something or have a browsing computer or an E-machine at that point. But you can't do that with Ryzen. So I feel like a lot of those GT1030s and 710s and whatnot are gone because people at least want to make their system functional or be able to test them. And the sad part is we saw those GPUs go as high as $300, which is ridiculous because of the fact that those are like $70 GPUs at best. But it is what it is. Now, what's compounding the issue here, and I think a lot of people just are not realizing here, is that the automotive industry is the hardest hit. Sure, we as gamers like to think, we're gamers and we want our stuff, we're mad, we're gamers, damn it. Really, what we do in our industry here in gaming, that is not that important to the world. It's really not. I mean, when it comes down to the automotive industry, Ford has thousands of trucks, F-150 specifically, sitting in yards, not lots, but yards where they're storing them, where they've come off the assembly line with no computers because they cannot get them either from the same manufacturers that these graphics cards come from. Remember, there's only a couple of manufacturers in the entire world. Intel, IBM also makes chips, by the way. They do have a 2 nanometer that they're now taking orders on for 2024, 2025, so we can potentially see the process shrink even more, but none of this stuff uses IBM, so who knows. Obviously there's TSMC, I don't know if I mentioned it, there's Intel. All of those production facilities have ramped up production as much as they can. Like, they're maxed out. In fact, the analysts are saying that we are exceeding the supply worldwide by about 1/3 or 30%. So we're demanding 30% more than they can make, which is pretty significant. The new facilities aren't expected to come online for another year at the earliest, and that's probably when you'd expect to see some alleviation. But Ford has shut down one of its major facilities, obviously for the F-150. Chevy has shut down 4 facilities now. stopped manufacturing on quite a few models, and Nissan has also now, I think, announced that there's 5 models that they stopped production on because of the same reason. They cannot get computers. So you take a huge industry like the automotive industry, and you look at like people saying, well, that's fine, we need to depend less on fossil fuels, we don't need so many cars. Well, they took your arguments and they made, electric vehicles, which is a whole nother argument about fossil fuels. Now you just have to make electricity somehow, whether it's coal burning or whatever, but I'll leave that one for another day. Now you have all of these cars that have tons of chips in them and tons of computers to control them also not being able to be produced. In fact, the Mustang Mach-E is now, I believe, one of the models that's sitting there on lots with no computers in them because, again, the shortage. Washers and dryers, TVs, refrigerators, microwaves, blenders, coffee makers, they all use chips. And so as you can see, the smart tech world moved faster than production was able to actually do. And that was compounded because of the pandemic. So you really had the perfect storm. And this was nothing to do with NVIDIA or AMD. I don't like the fact that Lisa Su came on and said, though, that the shortage was a good thing. I mean, I think that's what she's supposed to do, right? As a CEO, and to keep your investors happy, and you just come on and say, no, this is a good thing. It means we have more business. But I mean, it's not a good thing when you can't actually go out and buy the person's, the people's products. Lisa Su specifically did claim that they will have the availability sorted out by the end of this year, that they have ramped up production. They specifically said AMD has ramped up production, which I find interesting though. This is a little bit more of a conspiracy theory to me than the NVIDIA thing. AMD does not make its own product. They rely on TSMC. And so I'm kind of curious as to how AMD is ramping up production when they don't produce their stuff at all. So does that mean they're paying TSMC more? Does that mean there's going to be another price increase because of TSMC? Let's say they have a pay us more and we'll put you to the front of the line or priority. I have no idea how that works. Again, that would be speculatory or speculative. So I don't know what the case is there. But I can tell you though that one of the reasons why GPUs themselves specifically is having a shortage is because of the boom of Ethereum. Now Ethereum has been around for a long time. Cryptocurrency has always been synonymous with Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is not, in fact, a lot of Bitcoin isn't even done on GPUs anymore. The ASICs have been around for Bitcoin for a long time. GPUs became a much less effective way of mining Bitcoin. And we're talking like 2013, 2014 is when you started seeing ASICs appear, and that was where it moved on to. In fact, I believe there was even some gimping so that ASICs were better than GPUs. But Ethereum was kind of anti-ASIC for a long time, and GPU was the way that you farm it. And what's happening now is with the current boom of Ethereum, just like scalpers like to jump onto a shortage, a supply and demand shortage, and they buy up and resell for scalped much higher prices, Ethereum is causing a mad rush. It's like a digital gold rush. And so you get all these people that are going, I want to get rich too on Ethereum at $4,000 a coin, at least at the time of making this video. I don't know if they call it a coin, but $4,000 per Ethereum at the time of making this video. When Bitcoin was booming and then crashing and booming and crashing, Ethereum was sitting anywhere between $200 to $300. So you can see the kind of increase that there has been there. But what's happening is when it requires GPUs, and GPU memory specifically, and certain GPUs that have a very good hash rate at a certain power draw to hash rate that makes them extremely desirable. Ampere being one of those because of its extremely fast memory in GDDR6, and then GDDR6X obviously being extremely fast. You make a lot of money for leasing out that computer power or that computing power to the companies that are obviously paying you to do their stuff on your GPUs. So that's kind of compounded the issue. But fortunately though, the same company that makes ASICs and stuff for other coins has said apparently that they have an ASIC that they can make for Ethereum, that they've got one. The problem is they can't get the parts either, just like anyone else. So it's kind of a perpetuating problem here where the ASIC that could alleviate the GPU problem is a product of its own shortage. So it can't even be created. So who knows? Apparently it's going to take 2 years for that to be able to come to fruition. So we have to hope that the manufacturing picks up before any of that happens. That way they can actually make it, and then the GPU shortage will become less of an issue or less obvious. Because what's happening here is there's not that many people trying to get into gaming. There's not that many people trying to upgrade their systems versus people that are trying to make money, or people that are trying to buy them up and resell them. So you're competing with the scalpers, you're competing with the miners, you're competing with supply and demand, you're competing with the automotive industry and whoever else is out there trying to get their products made before the stuff it is that you're waiting on. But I mean, it's one of those things where we are kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. We create content here about computers. You can't create content about computers without talking about video. Video graphics or graphics cards are the
They're the hero of your system. Everyone loves their graphics cards. The graphics cards are the thing you brag about. Not many people go, I got a blah, blah, blah motherboard. Nobody cares. You just want to be like, I got an RTX 3090, or I got a 3080, or I got a 6900 XT. That's what you brag about. You know, if you're a car guy, you don't go and brag about what tire you got. You brag about what engine you got, and this is your engine. And it's frustrating, but it is what it is. So sometimes we don't really know how to make content right now that's not going to be completely in your face going, look at what we've got and you don't. For us, it's trying to make content for, here's what you guys can do in the meantime. That's why we got a video coming out about us flying FPV drones into each other and stuff on accident, mostly, but that's coming out. We'd appreciate it if you guys would like it. Because if you don't watch it and like it, then we're just gonna go back to making GPU videos, and you don't want that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget, these two graphics cards are up for grabs. We have a first place and a second place winner, 2080 Ti and, no, 2080 Ti? Is it Ti? No, 2080 and a RTX 3080. I mean, do you know how I could just go sell this right now for a lot of money, but I'm not gonna do that because one of you guys are gonna get it for free. So anyway, go check out the giveaway, subscribe, that way you're eligible for the giveaway, and we got some big stuff coming in the future here. We're just gonna keep making content and chugging along, although right now people have seriously lost interest in this because they're like, I can't buy it anyway, so why should I care? Well, you should care, that way you stay informed. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.